What's going on, guys? Hey, I make knives every now and then, so figured I'd show you my process. Get the rough shape in, whether you cut it out or have them cut out. And next thing I do is I'll drill the holes. All right, so got the holes drilled. I just kind of took one of them since they're all the same, and I kind of lined out, made a little line where I thought my handle would look good. Marked a couple holes, and then just did it by eyeballing it on the rest of them. These are 1/8-inch holes, so it's a small one, and this one is a 1/4 inch. All right, next I'm going to put the choil in all of them, and then clean up all the edges and everything. Okay, so that's what the little sharpening choil will look like. My next step is I take and I use a blue Sharpie. Got a bunch of them over there. I use a blue Sharpie and I color the blade edge. And then I have a dedicated drill bit, the same thickness as the knife, the 5/32. Put it on a flat surface and drag that drill bit down the blade edge. This way, I'll flip it over and then do it the other way as well, and that'll mark my center line. I put it on my jig. I use a bevel jig, a grinding jig, when I make my knives for about 90% of them. So I started out using, I'm comfortable with it, and so I keep using it. But it's set on there. You can see that center line pretty well. I usually try and make sure that my blade edge is flush with the edge of the jig to make sure it's straight. And then I'll change out this belt. I use a 60, I believe it's a 60 grit belt to put my first bevels in. So I'll set this all up and I'll do that. So that's how I'm gonna do the whole thing. All right, so that's what it looks like currently. Did both sides. So that's where it's at right now. And I've got 3 more to do. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll put them in the kiln, and we'll start the normalization process on them. All right, I've got all 4 of them done. I'll wipe them off, get them all cleaned up, and then they go in the kiln. They will go in the kiln for 3 different cycles to normalize the steel. And then the 4th cycle will be a heat treat. All right, so got them all cleaned up. I beveled the front, polished it up, took it up to 800. I walked the grits from 80 to 120 to 400, 600 to 800. And then I also took on my small wheel attachment over here, measured that out, marked it for the lanyard holes. Once I put them on the knife, it will look something like this right here. What I'll do now is I'll epoxy the handles on, and I just use G-Flex epoxy, mix the resin and the hardener together and put it on there. I also drill some holes in the back of the handles. If I don't drill them in the actual, tang itself, which I didn't on this one, I'll drill little holes in there just to have some epoxy fill them in and give it a little better grip onto the handle, onto the tang there. So I'll put a couple more small little holes in here, just kind of hold them all on, help hold them on. We'll put the pins in and get this sucker glued up. All right, real quick, I'm gonna show you how I prep these. I just have some paste wax. Just bought at the hardware store a long time. It lasts a long time. I put this on here, And since I do my handles like this, I make sure I put this clamp on there so I don't shove any wax down behind the handles. And I coat everything there with wax because I just don't want it getting in there, staying in there, drying, because you can see everything. I also coat those bevels, and then I put a little bit over the whole knife. Anywhere where I really don't want epoxy to stick. I also put some wax on the clamps because they will stick to your handles and they will pull chunks out of those handles, especially wood. I'll glue it all on, I'll clamp it down. When you clamp it down, you have a lot of squeeze out that comes out from in between the handles and the knife tang. So wipe everything down, wipe it down really, really well. All right, so this is my huge mess that I always have after I get done epoxying a knife. Bunch of those pads soaked in thinner. So this is kind of what it looks like. I've got it all clamped up. I don't have any gaps or anything. And wiped off the bevels, the front of the handles where I beveled them right there really well. I'm gonna let it sit for about 24 hours. And then shape the handles. All right, just took it out of the clamps. So now I just kind of take it to my bandsaw and I cut the end of these pins off. Gonna take it to this green grinder, shape it up, get all that stuff off there, make sure it's kind of flat. Then I'll take it to this grinder. I'll put my small wheel attachment on it and I'll clean up the insides of where the finger groove is. I'll clean up right there and just kind of get it good and shaped. All right, I've got it all sanded down. That's a 120 grit belt. Now I'll take the sides and I'll make them thin. I'll go to where that's almost one inch right there. I'll go to about 3/4 at least. And then I'll just kind of make a decision on if I like it or not. All right, I got it down to just under 3/4 of an inch thick. So now I'll put it in the vise, that red one right there, and we'll hand sand. All right, so I start out with 80 grit sandpaper. I just have the big sheets of it. I cut it down, I cut a few little pieces down. I don't know, that's maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Then I cut a smaller one. Just kind of start out. Start out like that, and I start shaping the spine and shaping the belly. Periodically, just kind of grab it, make sure it feels good. So this is 400. I haven't oiled it or anything yet. Lots of times after 400, I'll start kind of wet sanding it. So once you start climbing the grits, it starts going a lot faster. You do 80. I do 80, 120. I did have a little 220. I actually ran out on one side. It wasn't too bad. 320, 400. Then I'll jump to 600, 800, 1000. All right, took it up to 1500. And I just kind of put it on this, put on the wheel, and it looks really good, really good. I don't see any deep scratches in there that I missed. That's usually what I look for after I shine it up, because you'll be able to see them if you miss some spots. This one looks really good. Looks really smooth the entire way. So it took longer than expected to get the sheath on there, so there weren't any more videos made of my process. When I get it back, I just clean it up really well, make sure there are no scratches from the sheath or anything like that. I put my maker's mark on there, which is the Longhorn. I use a vinyl stencil and then some salt water and a battery charger, and it etches it right in there. I have some cold blue, gun bluing that I use to darken up the Longhorn. And then this one had some cool patterning on it from the ferric chloride and then the gun blue. I appreciate you guys watching.